First of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you, God. Thank you. Um, these perps here, matter of fact, I love when they call themselves gods, because I know the blessing awaiting for them. It's going to be magical. But in the meantime, you see these two picture here. For me, I know perps play the game that they need to play. Right? They have this mistake they try to create, which is falsified. For me, they know that this mistake, if you do that in front of me, I swear to God, reality is going to be put in your face. And yesterday, there was this person who thought that she could block out the reality of what you're seeing here. Oh, me saying that, I said that out loud. I could see her having goosebumps immediately. Like her shoulder just went up. Now, I've been talking about how these perps try to vilify me. As they try to act like they are Avengers. And for me, what they do sometimes is just make me have some imagination. They create imagination is what they do. So what they do is just have me have imagination, and then just quiet down, silence. That's because they're so deep. They got something. They're like clowns. I don't even know how they can even find the shamelessness of doing what they do. I don't understand. I would be so embarrassed because they think that if they act like this, if they quiet now, be scared. You should be scared now. It's like trash. I know who's talking to me, by the way. Listen, this is what's happening. You see this picture. You see two pictures. You see a kid, 8th grader. Like I made a video before. You obviously see that's a child. You see this person. You understand that this person has a thought. Have the mentality of a child. Has the brain of a child. Brain not comparable to an adult. Action not comparable to an adult. It's a child. And so I love to saying these things that's just obvious, because I know how I'm going to circle back and embarrass this low life and this trash trying to be quiet and silence to try to create this thing. You see, when I was a kid, I did something stupid at that age. Matter of fact, they were making me imagine this thing, but they make me imagine doing what I did as a child, but as an adult, and give me this weird imagination as if I'm an adult doing that, and then exaggerate, making me imagine that you put her arm around, like some extra nastiness, to try to exaggerate what I did instead of a fucking impulsive act of a child that just did what a child is capable of doing because of the impulsiveness of a child, because of the brain of a child. This is what you would call an inappropriate act of a child. You see? On the right, you see a child. What that child did, which is me, let's just say, is what a child can do, and it's an appropriate act because it's a child just doing something that they don't know any better, or they're still in the stage of growing up. Mentally, they're not there. It's an impulsive act, and the fact that it never happened again, it only happens once. You can understand the child doing. Now, listen, I'm talking this way. Not because I'm trying to explain myself. It's just because I'm going to destroy this low life as they try to present themselves the way they want to present themselves. Because this low life used what I did as a child to play the Avengers. But next to it, you see a picture of a woman. 2 women, matter of fact. Both of them describing what they're seeing their children going through because they're target individual. You hear them describing, you're going to hear, of course, I love to put down their faces. Because yesterday there was somebody who passed by. I was like, you tortured children, you fucking shit. You tortured children. So these people are all silent, making me have this imagination that's even exaggerated. I'm involved in a program that you're going to clearly hear what this woman described, seeing the children go through. So whatever imagination and even exaggeration of what I did as a child is, you will never live that fantasy. Whatever extreme exaggeration you create, at the end of the day, I recognize a child doing what a child capable of doing because of a child mind. Of course, I know they know that too. This is a game for them. It's to try to still present themselves as these Avengers, protectors of children. I have a child for my children. Clown ass shit. They try to make me think about what I did as a child and exaggerate. It's like, no, this is what a child like that can do. An appropriate act of a child. What I did is an appropriate act for me as a child. That's what you see a kid like that doing that. Now, They're like, no, it's abuse. Like, no. This is an act of inappropriateness of a child, and you have to exaggerate it to create some contact that will not exist at the time. Now, what you're going to hear from this other side, you see this woman. What you're going to hear, she described happening to her children. This is not an inappropriate act of a child doing something. This is torture. It's abuse. It's tormenting. It's atrocities. Now, these fuckers want me to let them live that fantasy. With all due respect, I'm sorry for the language I'm using, but this is the truth. It's the reality. When I see these people involved in something that the way they try to exaggerate, no, it's abuse. They try to say in this way, it's like, you're fucking trash. No, it's torturous. That's what you do to these children. That's what these lowlife are involved in. And yes, some of these partaking in my torture, in my tormenting, have not participated in the torture of children. But to do that to me, they involve in a program where they clearly torture children. And some of them are doing that to me, have participated in torturing women and children. So there's people, I call them in different fashion. There's like a man-child kind of man. It's like a childlike-minded person who's more about games. Reality for him, he's going to get it when the time comes, not today. It's going to be a magical day. I would love to see this guy going through reality. Because I know he's just such a la-la land kind of person. But I love to be that genius, wise, with my wisdom, which is not even wisdom. It's obviousness. And these people have the audacity to be all silent. It's like, oh no, but what you did as a kid. It's like, this is an act of you don't do that to people when people know that you torture children. It loses the impact big time. It's like, do you understand that I know that you do these things that you're going to hear this woman talk about to children? You see the contrast. You see a child here. You understand a child here is going to do something stupid because the mentality of a child, the brain of a child is what a child is capable of doing. Now, of course, not all children do it, but the children's brain is capable of doing that because the brain of a child is developing, is under construction. So when I see a child like that, or when I think of what I did as a child, I see, okay, look at this kid. Can this kid do an impulsive act that he will never do? When a kid does that, you understand that's a child just acting inappropriately. This is just a stage of a child brain that's still developing, not understanding what that inappropriate act was. These fuckers have to exaggerate that. And I have no problem saying that. So it's like, I know the kids can do these things. Of course, I think about it as an adult man. I'm like, ugh, what was I thinking? Well, no, kids. They look at this is a child. Now, you guys, that's the unforgiven one. Oh, no, that's different. Systematically torturing children using directed energy weapon system, or even involve yourself in that. When you have kids, they clearly know that they torture children. For this purpose, they didn't have the experience to torture children yet. They know that they involve in something where children are being tortured. And they are aligned with it because they participated in the same program. So for me, when we see each other, yesterday it happened that way. This one tried to come back like that's abuse, like that's torturing children. She was trying to refer what I did as a child over there, trying to even exaggerate. This inappropriate act of a child. I was listening to what you're going to hear what this woman was describing. And how they were being tortured. And she think that it was going to counter reality. You delusional? You think I'm going to let you go into a fantasy where suffocating kids is no? That's not the torturing and the abusive and the atrocities that you guys do to children, but an appropriate act of a kid in that age doing this stupid thing that never happened again. You want to think about that and forget about what you guys do to children. You're delusional shit. And she looked like she was pregnant. So this is even worse. For me, the worst part is when I hear parents using their parenthood to act like they're protectors of children. It's like, no, you pay for what you did as a kid. That was abuse. No, that was an appropriate act of a child. You have a child, you know what children can do. And on top of that, you're involved in a program that tortured children as young as your fucking kids. And you, matter of fact, you try to deflect the testimonials of that. You fucking shit. So for me, it's my job. Target individual. The reason why I bring that up, it's not because I'm trying to explain myself. Not at all. It's simple. These perps doing these things to us, they want to create a state of mind. It helps them stay in method acting. I don't think I'm saying anything special. They know even better than me. Some of them have kids. They have kids the same age of that kid. They know they can see a child and this kid can do dumb thing, like a dumb thing tomorrow. They have children. I'm not saying that to try to. It's because they want to stay in character. They want to present themselves as these protectors of children, and they want to stay in character, and have to block out what they're actually part of. I will never allow that to happen. Never. So when I make these videos, it's not to explain myself. No. It's to understand that when we see each other, when you or perp come to me and you say it's abuse, I know what you guys do to children, and I know the torturing of children. As you try to talk about me as a kid at this age, try to even exaggerate that. I know the tortures of children. And what the people involved in that deserve to experience in life. For me, that's what I want them to understand. This is the energy I'm on. You're gonna try to bring up me as a kid. I'm gonna bring out the reality of what you guys do to kids. Understand what it means. Act accordingly then. Because yesterday this woman tried to do that. This person, whatever it was, she walks in, it's abuse. Like, I turn around, like, it's torturing children. She can see her just uncomfortable. It's like, what do you think I was going to let you live in that fantasize reality? You think you can do this whole to babies and children, and you think I'm going to let that happen? And then you want me to think about a kid at that age, the inappropriate? No, it's fair, because I know who's doing this thing to me, and you should know that I know that too. So when we see each other, okay. And they use these frontliners who are childlike trait. They empower this low life, and it's not unique to me. Perps around you sometimes are childlike, right? It helps, I think, because the stupidity of a child, right? The maturity of a child, or maturity of somebody who has barely any maturity in them. It's perfect. They start telling themselves, "We are we're warriors." No, you're not a war trash. You're doing your task. They're supposed to gaslight you into forgetting reality. That's their job. And so they're going to act accordingly. Oh, they'll scream with passion as if they're not involved in a program that tortures children. It's magical to see that. As if I don't know they're torturing children the way you're going to hear. With all the anger, it's like, you pay. That fashion. They're involved in a program where you're going to hear what they do to babies. It is magical to hear this. With emotions and this, like, it's like method acting. Almost like tearing and anger. The anger is just so overwhelming. All of that to just try to make you think that they are avenging, protecting children when they do these things to babies and they know they're involved in that. The reason why I put these contracts together is because when they say this thing, I want to look at it as like, you fucking low life. I want to look at the picture of this child who's in the 8th grader, and I want to look at a picture of this woman describing what they're seeing their children go through, or the children they go through. The children they're guarding, the children they're protecting, the children they're teaching are going through. And look at this shit acting. Our children, our girls, this is the things they do. And on top of that, I've talked about my mind being manipulated. Oh, they do the manipulations. They play on my brain in these disturbing, forcing me stimulations. Matter of fact, before that, they were bringing up what they falsify in my mind. Because this act was an act that happened once. Never again. Just one time thing. Never happened again. And that's because a child just can't do this impulsive thing. Never thought about it. It's not something I was like, oh, I can't wait to do this again. Nope. I did some dumb impulsive act. Never did it again. Typical child impulsiveness. Forget about it. Completely left my brain. It's clowns. Completely forgot. That's how impossible it is. The second I did whatever I did as a child, it completely disappeared from my brain because it was just such an impulsive act. It's like comparing, obviously it's not the same thing. But imagine a child just do something like mischievous, like just throw something and break something accidentally and just never think about it ever. Obviously it's not the same level, but I'm just saying that's the level of mentality of a child that completely left my brain. So they try to create more things of that nature to create a pattern because there's none. They go back when I'm younger and then manipulate my memories to make me have sensation with this baby, this is Sarah, and come up with this. It's so disturbing. And it's validated that they manipulate the memories. They can play with memories in so many refined fashion. Not too long ago, I was listening to a podcast about MK Ultra. This man called Tom, I forgot his last name. He wrote a book about MK Ultra that lasted 20 years. His book took him 20 years to write. He was talking about, in the early stage of MK Ultra, there was this doctor that was working for the CIA, right? He was already working like in the neuro kind of world. In 50 something, there's this man who ended up raping a child. Because he thought that 3-year-old child did something to him when he was a child, abused him when he was a child. So the reality of what happened, they created a false memory. This man said, hey, I can remove real memories and create false memories. He was working for the CIA. He was saying that in the 50s. The basic technology they had at the time? For him to be able to do that with just raw technology, drugging, and things like that, claiming that he could do that without the knowledge of the patient, I can take his memories, remove them, and bring them new memories, and change the memories. So this man did this thing. First of all, you can only imagine the nastiness that was put in his brain. For him to look at a 3-year-old, kill that baby, and actually rape her before killing her. So you imagine the implantation of memories they put in his brain for him to be able to do that. My point of bringing that up is because memories can be played with. And they've done that in my childhood to create patterns. They try sometimes to be smooth. Nowadays, smoothness is they let it go. Because my brain is just too fried at this point. They just want to create some kind of tormenting things. So they stop being smooth. Matter of fact, you know how bad it was yesterday? Because in the 50s, when they made this man kill and rape a 3-year-old kid, they made him imagine that the 3-year-old baby that he killed and raped was some cousin that abused him when he was a child. It was completely falsified. It was a false memory. Non-existent. Do you know how they try to flip that onto me? Instead of saying, oh, this entity is doing these things to us at the time, we're already using this disgusting pedophilia type of disturbingness, where they even made a man lose his mind to the point where he raped and killed a 3-year-old, thinking that the 3-year-old child was a cousin that abused him when he was a child. A completely falsified memory. Instead of be like, oh, that's kind of, I don't want to be connected with this. Oh no, they're gonna use us like, oh, you see what he's capable of doing. You see what he did when he was, and they try to say, your cousin did this. They try to bring back to me. You see, that's what you did. This person will kill you. I was like, trash. First of all, you try to exaggerate what I did. You think they made him think the stupid thing I did at that age? No, they probably made him imagine the most gruesome thing happened to him as a child. For him to look at a 3-year-old thinking, oh, that's the 3-year-old that did this thing to me, let me kill him. You understand the stupidity. But let's get back to reality, because these people have no shame. Like, at this point, they have no shame. They have no shame. They're even making their dog bark. They have no shame. They have no shame that they're connected to something that made a man rape and kill a child that's 3 years old. And what they're trying to do is flip that. And when I'm being connected, it's clear that these governmental entities are behind what's happening to me today. And the same governmental entities made a 3-year-old get raped by a man who had no attention to do that. This slow life, when we see each other, it's going to be bad. And they know that. So now you see this child over there. Try to create an exaggerated version of what I did as a child. Try to say, no, that was abuse. No. That's an inappropriate act of a child. You see how the kid is like this impulsive act that you try to even exaggerate. No, you used your hand. You did it and try to make me imagine grabbing. Like some exaggerate. No, I didn't want to do that. But I know what I did to myself. Still inappropriate, but not what you wish. This is not it's not going to be something that traumatizes anybody. Because it's not what you wish it was. But what you guys do to these children, it is traumatizing. It is damaging psychologically and physically. And I'm not going to let this slow life that's so they're fucking retards. In program where the initial things were making men rape 3-year-old kids. And them using that to try to flip that around. Oh my God. And they try to be fierce. Because they have this facade. You know, today, this intelligence community know how to create psyops, right? They know how to create facade. I've called it out so many times. The facade of this fucking low life is the most disturbing ones out of it all. They play this like Avengers, and usually like it's like a feminist kind of thing. There's like a feminist like touch to it. Or a worried parent. Oh, for our children, fucking shit. For all the kids, for all the women, for all the people who've been traumatized, damaged by this technology and this program, inclusive of all these babies. I'll see this shit for what they are. So when we pass against each other and you say abuse, I'll turn around like torturing children, you fucking shit. That's what you're involved in. Torturing children. You can bring up this thing that happened in the 50s where a man raped a 3-year-old because they made him imagine a false memory as your validation. But torturing children is reality. And I can't wait to see the losers and the low life that sold their kids to this. These winners that tell me they're going to win because it's their court. Of course, it's this governmental court. Of course you're a winner. You made your child friend people. Fucking trash. Target and Vigil. Listen to what they do to children. I want you to hear this. Understand this is what they're connected to. Listen to what they do to kids. Listen to how they torture children and compare. To the right, you see a child, 8th grader, middle school, brain underdevelopment. The inappropriate act of a child of that age, which they try to exaggerate. No, I didn't molest a child when I was a child. No, I did not sexually torture the child when I was a child. No, I didn't abuse in a heart. Like I did something to myself. And it was what you call, that's pure definition of inappropriate act of a child. Because of course I'm thinking about it as a grown ass man today, and I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? As they try to counter something else, we bring it. They try to deflect. But look at this, a child. So when you see an act of a child of what I did at that age, you understand that this kid just did something inappropriate act, especially if it never happened again. That's why they are here trying to create patterns. Because the reality is like you see a child like that doing something dumb like that, you see, okay, this is obviously a kid that just did this inappropriate act. His brain is still under the development, is under construction. He's not fully there. This is just a inappropriate act, an impulsive act of a child. You know, it's funny how they try to find another way to say, oh, it's child play. No, it's an inappropriate act of a child. Target individual. Now listen to what they do to children. For me, I put that in their faces. So when we see each other and they pass by and they say the way they say abuse, sounds like torturers of children. Listen to what they do, the way they traumatize these babies, the way they torture these women. I will never, ever, ever let this slow life partake in these things. Think that they can live this fantasy. Listen to this woman. This is who you're seeing to the left here. That woman, Catherine Nestor, coming to the bioethic committee, 2011 or so, describing what is happening to her and her young child. Listen to this.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MK Ultra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan, and please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
You clearly hear what she describes. Because of what's happening to her and her young child. They've been both damaged physically and psychologically. Traumatizing the child. This is what they're connected to. Now you see this child in the rights. An 8th grader with an inappropriate act of a child. Versus what you just heard this woman go through with her young child. This woman and her young child going through, calling out, we've been tormented. 4 pages of that. 4 pages of the detailed torture that her and her young child going through. No. This fucking low life, when I hear them and see them, that's what I see. That's what I connect to them to. Now listen to Mariana, who also get the psychological torment that I get when it comes to the pedophilia type of torture. The word pedophilia type of torture, I got it from her. Forcing her to get sexual stimulation to her children. To break her down. That's what they do. For me, they do these things like, no, we mapped it to you when you were a kid. We're mining. Using this terminology, trash. No, you're rewiring my brain, you're manipulating my brain, you're changing my brain. Even when I was a child, I didn't get these reactions. When I was a child at that age, I didn't get it. So sometimes they go into, when I'm in like a 10-year-old. And try to say, no, but when you're 8, 10, falsify. Or at least talk about a 10-year-old like this child. What they falsify, the memory they falsify is the one when I'm 13. Just to say, no, but when that kid was Sarah, you felt the sensation. No, I did not. But can you imagine falsifying memories of a child? To validate yourself? Well, my validation is as clear as ever. Because when we see each other, they're going to go with what they created, this false reality. I'm going to go with clearly what they do when they testify, if they're testifying of that. Till my last breath, I will never give this shit a chance to live a fantasy. Because even if I don't say anything, they're going to get theirs. They know that. But while they're doing that to me, I'm not going to let them go into a la-la land of fantasized reality where they're protectors of children and what they're doing, the brain is remapping and the thing, and they're just investigating. And I swear to God, when I speak like that, this is how I think they think. Clown ass trash that have been embarrassed by the reality of that, of the things they do. And they use this feminist looking, now we're mapped. Now you've manipulated the brain as you do. And what you do to children, listen to this woman describing this.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. As day, I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point, Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister, who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay.
A 3-year-old hit by direct energy. Oh, by the way, the mind games, the manipulation, the rewiring, the pedophilia type of torture. This is the same woman who says that here, right here.
Experience what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my...
You clearly hear that. Women's like, now we mapped it because when you're a kid, this is what you felt like that. Trash ass. Now we're different. We and try to use like some kind of like perceptions for them, the way they look. Now we're studying the memories and this. And now you're manipulating the brain. Disgusting shit. It doesn't end here. Listen to this whole family. From young teenager to babies, infants being tortured. Listen to this. Horror. The true horror of what they're part of. I cannot let these people go into any of that fantasized reality when they do these things. This is a testimonial of a family. When I discovered what target individual was, I found online a letter that was sent, I forgot to what organization, where 100 target individuals from all around the world wrote their testimonials, describing what was happening to them. There were people from all around the world saying the same things. There was a family, I think based in California, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the United States, somewhere, and they described what's happening to them. Today it's still happening. There's still testimonials of women and mothers and fathers dealing with this with their children. Not too long ago, there was this woman saying, me and my young child, me and my 3-year-old are going through like direct energy or something like that. It's happening right now. Today. So here, these testimonials from this family describing what's happening to them and their children.
And have had a decent education. I live in El Dorado Hills, California, with my wife of 14 years, Lorna, and our 5 children. Nicole is 15, Patricia 14, Christopher 13, Dylan 9, and Avery 16 months old. Not only have I been going through this, but my entire family has suffered right by my side. We have all experienced the same type of harassment on different levels. We have all suffered the same symptoms while this harassment was going on. Some of our physical symptoms include severe tooth decay and vision loss, unexplained rashes and burns, severe headaches, mood swings, anxiety, thyroid problems, high blood pressure, heart problems, vision loss and cancer. Two of my children were born premature, which I attribute to this. I will gladly furnish you with detailed photos of the rashes. Our infant daughter, at 3 weeks old, was diagnosed with Lerner's syndrome. This was after a severe rash appeared on her body after a few days of torture. We were told by a couple doctors to take her home, and love her and spend the rest of the time we have with her. They told us she would ultimately die from this syndrome. Thank God that Lerner syndrome was not what affected our daughter. Doctors are still dumbfounded by her rash and symptoms. Sadly, we know that her symptoms were effects from the torture this poor innocent 3-week-old baby endured.
You understand what they do to children? Imagine somebody comes by and says, don't talk about me when I'm a kid at that age. Try to exaggerate what I did as a child when I know what they do to children. It's like they get shocked. I'm like, it's torture. When I say it's torture, it's torturing children. They're shocked. They're like, oh my God. But yes. You think I was going to let these people live their fantasy? By the way, now, the magical aspect of it all. They love to say it's fate because it is kind of fate, right? The manipulations, the way they try to make themselves act like the protectors of children, all of that is destroyed. It's destroyed. How do I know that? First of all, you just heard what they do to children. They clearly torture children. You heard that. But they like to say, oh, my body's rotting. Oh, I'm rotting. It's like, yes, I'm rotting. You know why? So, obviously, there's a purpose behind it. This woman, Catherine Nestor, she said, me and my young child are being used as test subjects. Who's doing this test subject, by the way? Oh, yes. Who's running this program is the Department of Defense. They use this low-life and bottom fears to try to counter and disorient the target individual. This trash are supposed to play this like, now it's a money with the feminists. It's our appeals with different. Trash ass. When they're just low-life working for these governmental entities torturing children and women. Some of them have partaken in the torture of women and children. Try to use that, this new fix, the psyops of like this optics of feminism that no longer is even respected by people nowadays. I love to bring that up. The optics of like feminism where feminism is not even respected anymore because of this fraudulent trash that just become feminists when it's convenient for them. That's the optic. But the truth is this. It's obviously the governmental entities doing this. And this governmental entity's been working on technology that can do that for a long time. We're just test subjects of this. This weapon system and everything come from these entities that have been working on technology that can alter the brain since the 60s. Like DARPA. Listen to this.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day.
So clearly they've been working on that. DARPA, or the Department, the Defense Advanced Research Program Agency. They work on all the developing weapon system, the future weapon system. This is who is behind this. One of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, agency in the world, with capabilities that are amazing that you couldn't even believe is true. So much ahead, so ahead of us that you don't even understand. These losers that you see around you, there's just some bottom feeders contracted to implement these things. It's clear who's behind this. Listen to this man describing like what this is about. Really what this as I'm trying to what this is really about. And the entities behind this. And what this technology can do.
That will couple with the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, and cause them to malfunction so that you can degrade the performance of your adversary. The new weapon systems being developed today will attack the mind, the body, and our physiology on an energetic level. Not with bullets and bombs. It's a perfect Republican weapon. No offense to Republicans here, but you don't want to destroy the property. You're going to have to rebuild it afterwards. This is a weapon systems of the 21st century.
You understand? Unfortunately, what's happening to us, target individual, regardless of the psyops and the clownery that you hear around, is the reason why these children are being tortured in this fashion, the reason why I'm getting tortured in this fashion, is because they're developing this weapon system. That's it. They're developing this weapon system, and DARPA is developing this technology on top of, obviously, that if this DARPA means DOD, because DARPA is on the DOD. And this is why such sophistication technology is being applied onto us. That's why we're getting sick the way we're getting sick. This is why our organs are failing the way it's failing. This is why this child, this 3-week-old infant, was getting these rashes and then felt better all of a sudden after they got her sick. This is the reality of things. The reality is simple. We are just test subjects.
Always 20 years ahead.
Listen to what DARPA is.
So that's fascinating. And part of that has to do with DARPA likes the public perception of most secretive, isn't familiar with DARPA, right? It's the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, a mouthful.
They added the D.
They added the D for defense, but it is the most powerful, most secretive, most productive military agency in the world. And I kind of believe that before I wrote the book, most people had not heard of DARPA. I mean, I think, or at least when I was doing press for it, it was like shocking.
I think you're right about that.
So that's fascinating. And part of that has to do with DARPA likes the public perception of, that they like do all these things for the good of humanity. And actually, we know from the declassified documents again, or actually this was not declassified. This was the statement by the first SecDef at the time, the SecDef at the time that the DARPA was created, Neil McElroy, an advertising executive who became the Secretary of Defense. He said, he went to Congress to get the funding, and he said, this agency is going to create the vast weapon systems of the future. That is what DARPA does. They are always 20 years ahead of anything that you or I know. So any technology that is like, what the hell was that I just saw and you're not supposed to have seen, that's DARPA.
They were doing Neuralink in the 90s, right?
They are always doing things 20 years before you know about them, because
you understand. At the end, you heard Neuralink. Neuralink is what Elon Musk is working on with the chip in the brain. There was apparently in the 90s, which I'm sure is even before that. DARPA was working on that. If I'm not mistaken, we're talking about 30 plus years or so. Doing that. So you can only imagine what they do. And Neuralink, you understand, it means the brain, some kind of brain interaction with machinery or manipulations of some sort. But the thing that I love about how humiliating reality is for this low life who's supposed to be acting like, no, it's our money, we're doing our investigation, it's this and that. Now, obviously, I know these people doing that around me are not actual DARPA. They're not actually CIA. They contract. They've been doing that even when it came to MK Ultra and all this thing. They used to contract people to implement the tactics. Nobody's. They are obviously supervised one way or another. But something that is closer to these entities. So when I see this low life here, I don't think, oh, you're a DARPA. No, I know you're just a nothing. But with that being said, this technology is coming from there. And I know that the entities that gate, the reason why it's happening here, the developing of the weapon system is coming from there. Somehow there's a connection with this trash, whatever incentive they get coming from these entities. Now, why do I bring DARPA? And why is this a blessing? Magically enough, right? As today they forced me to have this perception and this reactions like, no, what we did is we mapped it to you when you were a kid and this and that. The humiliating reality is these entities, we're talking about Department of Defense. DARPA is on the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense is then obviously the entity big entity behind everything here. This is what they have as an issue.
Secrets, potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them at high levels, across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
You heard the last part. Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. They caught finding out that the person they caught child porn on his work computer on was a project manager at DARPA. This is in 2007 or so. Oh, things only got worse. So you have this lowlife working for these governmental entities where you hear these issues with child porn and pedophilia to this level, by the way, because in 2019, apparently things only got worse with child porn, but child porn being downloaded and accessed using DoD Internet Network, DoD computers. That a bill was created. The bill is called National Defense Network Abuse Act. That was introduced in 2019 because in 2018, Child Protective Services, specifically focusing on child porn, ranked the Department of Defense as a top-tier internet network for child porn accessing and trafficking. It is magical. Those are the people who are like, now what we're doing, we're mapping your brain, we're a frontier and trash us. They do this. This is a weapon system. That's why they force you to have this reaction. It's a weapon system. When they attack your mind, they attack in these disturbing ways because it's supposed to push you into insanity. They do this pedophilia type of torture. You heard this woman describing that. And then they use this retards like, now what we did, we mapped your brain. You just rewind your brain. First of all, it doesn't even make sense to compare a brain of a man to a brain to a child unless you're making that person a mentally handicapped individual. But they try to be like, no, but what we did, we saw this. No. First of all, it's coming from entities that have issue with child porn to this level.
It shows that the Department of Defense, within the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this, it shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also...
You understand? That's how disgusting the reality these people are part of. As they're mapping, they're here, they have to create a bill because they've done so much child porn using the computers given to them. But the DoD is magically fair. Because now, how am I supposed to look at this life, this mappers? Huh. Listen to this.
Are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers.
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography.
This is what's going on. And so you have these losers and low-life nothings who's supposed to make me accept this false reality or where there's some protectors of children, trash ass. And they use very childlike people, right? As bad as things happen to you, It's because the technology is so advanced and so ahead of this time that they can do these horrible things to you remotely for the purpose of developing this weapon system. So they're fusing my organs, and apparently they're doing all these things. And I'm supposed to think it's just like this group of feminists with their money of this weapon system that it's like, sure, a retarded ass. Of course, I know the reality of this. It's obviously governmental entities running this program. And when I mean governmental entities, the entity you just heard will issue child porn. And I would love to put that in their face. As they bring up me as a kid there while they're actually torturing children this whole way. And then try to make me think, no, but now, today, what we're doing, we're mapping your brain. They just rewire the brain. They do these things here. Listen to the consistency of other target videos saying the same thing.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds. And vice versa.
You get it? That's the reality of things. Almost all target individuals have said that some kind of pedophilia type of tormenting is happening. Why would they do that? Because the weapon system of this 21st century will also attack the mind. And what they mean by attacking the mind, it means make you experience disturbing reactions to torment you, to break you down, to break you. Now, when I see these perps try to gaslight you into accepting these manipulations, into gaslight you to make you think that they are protecting and avenging children, and it's abuse. While they are here torturing children. Talk about me as a child over there. While they're doing these things to children. I just want to make sure that test the waters and see how it goes. Make me imagine whatever you want me to. But I always see things for the reality of what it is. You're involved in a program where you torture children. You abuse them. You torture them. You torment them. And you try to bring up an act of a child at that age. As inappropriate as it was, you try to even exaggerate that. Try to make it worse to create your fantasized reality. Never going to happen. Because I know the reality of a child capability. The impulsiveness of a child. While you low life are involved in something that systematically harms babies. To all my target individuals, stay strong and see this low life where they are.